All right, you're good to go.
All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Tater Talk. It's episode 78. I'm Justin Ledger, and I'm here with my co-host, Zach Hummel. Zach, how are we doing today?
Doing good, dude. Finally got some baseball that actually matters,
That's
which is
right.
great.
We got it's October 1st, so that means we got October baseball. It's finally here. We've been waiting quite a while for this. I know over the last month we've been pretty antsy, waiting for this time of year. It's finally here, and we got game 163. We even got bonus high stakes baseball for us today. We had the Cubs Brewers earlier today, and the Brewers won the NL Central, which means the Cubs will be playing in the NL wild card game. So that's going to be interesting. And then right now we have the Rockies Dodgers game going on, and the Dodgers currently lead 4-0 in that one. So it looks like if all signs are pointing to the Dodgers making it into the NLDS, and the Rockies will be facing off against the Cubs in the wild card game. We'll get to that discussion in a minute. Before we get to that, let's get to our favorite stories. As we always do, this will be the last time this year we give our favorite stories of the week, because it's all playoffs from here on out. Everything's a favorite story from here on out. But last favorite story of the year, let's hear it.
Yeah, so the Yankees played the Red Sox this weekend, and usually coming down the stretch in September, you would think this would be a competitive series, but both teams had already clinched, so there wasn't a ton on the line for either team. So Stanton hits a home run, and some Red Sox fan throws the ball back onto the field, has his Henry Rowan-Gardner moment, and hits Stanton with the ball as he rounds second base. Never seen this happen. Great accuracy from the guy throwing it from the monster, but I feel like the monster is one of the best left fields in baseball to hit a guy with a home run ball, because you're
no
on top
doubt
of everything and you just throw it straight down at him.
Yeah, there's no easier place to peg a player from. Like you just have the perfect angle to do it. That's why I wasn't totally impressed. I wasn't impressed with the arm strength. I was impressed with the accuracy. I don't think he meant to do it, honestly. I think he just meant to chuck it as far as he could, and then it just happened to land there. I like how Giancarlo Stanton took it in stride. Did you see his Instagram post after?
Yeah, I did.
It was very funny. So that was good, but I can't decide whether I like the move by the Red Sox fan to do that. Like, I can't decide if I'm on the side of like chucking baseballs back onto the field like that, or if I'm on the side of like it's kind of played out at this point and just keep the ball or give it to a young fan or something like that.
I think that's my worst nightmare. If I'm at a game and I catch a home run ball and I'm like pressured to throw it back, I would never throw it back.
That guy was not pressured, though. That guy was not pressured. That guy had nothing on his mind except chucking that thing as far as he possibly could.
Yeah, maybe you have a couple beers in you. There's a girl you want to impress. You chuck the home run ball back onto the field.
I'll say this. If he was trying to impress a girl, I bet it worked, because that was a hell of a throw. And you hit, like, Giancarlo Stanton gave like a little motion towards the guy who threw it and everything. He acknowledged him. So altogether, I mean, it was a successful throw. I just can't decide whether those types of people are scumbags or if we should just embrace them.
Yeah, it's not really a Boston thing to throw home runs back. That's like a Cubs thing and a couple other ballparks that usually do that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if we get any imposters, guys who try to pull this move, try to hit players with home run balls. I don't know if that will become a thing or not. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Have to keep an eye out on that throughout the playoffs. All right, so my favorite story is something I talked about a couple weeks ago. I kind of previewed the David Wright send-off. I said it was going to be an amazing moment, all that good stuff, and I think it lived up to the hype. He pinch hit on the 28th, and I was a little bit disappointed by that, the ovation that he got for that. It was a nice ovation, but I was expecting, the whole works, like circa 2009 when Nomar returned to Fenway. I was expecting that kind of ovation. Didn't get it then. But then when he came onto the field the next day, it was waterworks. I mean, it was one of the best ovations for any player that I've ever seen return. So again, David Wright is one of my favorite players of all time. So this was my favorite story of the week.
Yeah, I've never been a huge David Wright guy, but anyone that goes through all those injuries and stays with the team, like the Mets were not good for a lot of his tenure there, and he stuck with them. Yeah. He's just one of these guys that, like, I feel like if you're not a Mets fan, you're like, oh, that guy's been there his whole career. He's a good player. But Mets fans absolutely love the guy. So
Yeah, he's been awesome to watch throughout his career when he was actually healthy. I remember 2006, 2007, that Mets team was awesome. It had Wright, Reyes, both in their primes, and that duo alone was worth watching. Graz isn't on the show today, but I know for a fact his favorite story would be the whole CC Sabathia incident. Graz, if it's not, feel free to correct me on the next show if you're on. But the CC Sabathia thing was wild. So I forget who it was that got. It was Austin Romine actually who got beaned on the Yankees, and Sabathia responded by beaning Sucre on the Rays, their catcher. And he did a nice little. He got ejected from the game. He actually had to give. Basically gave up $500,000 to protect his teammates. So some sort of bonus that he would have gotten if he had not gotten ejected. He decided, screw this, protecting my teammates. I don't care about this 500K. I respect that. And then on top of that, he walks off the mound and points towards the Rays dugout and says, "That's for you, bitches." So respect to CC. I mean, even as a Red Sox fan, I have to tip my cap to the guy.
yeah, I wonder if he knew about that bonus going into the game, and if he knew in the moment that ejection was going to cause that, because he might have had a different tone if he knew that. It's not a ton of money. That guy's made millions of dollars in his career, but I mean, if I have to pitch one more inning to get 500K, I'll do it. I won't have to beg someone to do it.
Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing that too. Do you think CC Sabathia hears 500K and is just like, whatever?
That's what I'm saying. He might just feel that way.
Yeah,
I mean, he's made over 200 million probably.
Oh, easily. Yeah. That's a crazy thing to think that he could have just shrugged off $500,000. Now that I think of it, must be nice.
The Yankees should still pay it to him.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, I'd like to see that. All right. So as we talked about a few minutes ago, game 163, or games, I should say, was today for both the Brewers and Cubs. That was one game, and then the other one was Dodgers Rockies. Again, is it still 4-0 over here? Yep, still 4-0 in the Dodgers game. So we're gonna have to wait for the result of that one. What did you think of the What were your takeaways from Brewers Cubs today? Do you like the Cubs' chances in the wild card game? Because I don't know if I do.
Yeah, I don't. I don't like their chances. I think their bullpen stinks. I think they'll probably throw Lester in that game, I'm guessing, and they'll probably have all their starters ready other than Quintana, who went today. This is the classic example of a team that gets hot. Not like the Brewers weren't hot, but they're hotter than the Cubs right now.
Right.
And they just beat them on their own turf. It's one of those things in baseball. If you get hot going into the playoffs, it's one of those things that's really tough to stop if you're the other team. The Brewers are that team right now.
They are.
I would have never thought I would have said that.
Yeah, before the season, I didn't think Yelich and Kane was going to be our moves, I should say. I was going to say move, but plural moves that were going to propel the Brewers all the way through the playoffs. At this point in time, I would not be shocked to see the Brewers ride this momentum into the World Series, because they seem like that team right about now. And I know it could kind of wear off at any minute. Like they might have used up all of their when you're hot, your hotness, I guess we'll call it for the sake of this show. I do think they are that team of destiny, quote unquote, in the National League. So we'll see where they go from there. As for the Cubs, I'm not convinced they're going to get past this wild card game. We'll use the Rockies as an example because as of right now, that's who they would face in the wild card game. I like the Rockies in that game. I don't know why I do. Because it's at Wrigley, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. The Rockies don't have that Coors advantage going for them. I don't know. My gut's telling me the Rockies are taking this.
Yeah, I feel the same way you do. I like the Rockies bullpen better than the Cubs, and I think a lot of those right-handed bats might get to Lester, like the Arenados, the Stories, the Ian Desmonds. I don't think it's a layup for the Cubs for sure.
Yeah. I can see the Cubs being more rattled about not winning the division than the Rockies, because I think the Rockies have more of a chip on their shoulder where the Cubs are more, I don't want to say accustomed to winning because they just got used to this winning thing a couple of years ago, but still they're used to being at this point for the past couple of years, the NL Central champs, whereas the Rockies are used to fighting tooth and nail for any win they could get they haven't won a division title for, I don't know if they ever have. Have the Rockies ever won a division title?
I don't know.
I don't know if they have either. If they have, it's only been one or two because the year that they made it all the way to the World Series, I'm pretty sure they were a wild card team that year. So the Rockies, like I said, have more of a chip on their shoulder. I think that could give them the edge in that game. We'll have to see. I think that game would be tomorrow, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yep. It'll be tomorrow, and the Rockies will have to go halfway across the country after their game today. So
Yeah.
that'll be tough, but it's the playoffs. You got to put it all on the table. And the Cubs just look like a team that are worn out. I don't know. It seems like they still have the World Series hangover. I mean, they had a good regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, they just look like they're just a couple hits short, couple pitchers short right now.
Yep. So I know, I mean, the wild card games are this week. We're probably not going to be able to record right after the wild card games. So instead, we'll predict our winners. Again, I'm going with the Rockies in the NL. The AL, I'll probably go with. I'm going to go with the Yankees. What about you?
Yeah, I'm with you with the Rockies in the NL. I just think they're the better team right now.
Yeah.
In the AL, I'm going with the Oakland A's. I've always believed in that team. I just think their lineup is really deep. Not that the Yankees is not, but these one-game playoffs have not been so kind to the Yankees in present years. So,
all right. So next episode, I'm sure we'll be able to recap. Assuming the games are as electric as we expect them to be, we'll be recapping those along with wherever the ALDS and NLDS are at that point. Let's move on to our award picks for the year. I've been waiting to do this for quite a while now. I've pretty much had my picks locked, except with like maybe one or two of them. I know a couple guys have really pulled away over the last couple weeks, but most of them have been set in stone for me for a while now. So let's get them out there. I will start with AL MVP. I think it's Mookie Betts by a landslide here. I know he had a little bit of a slump at the beginning of September, but I think when you look at the season as a whole, he has been the guy in the American League. Not Mike Trout has not been better than Mookie Betts this season. That says a lot. If Mookie Betts can string more of these seasons together that he had this year, he will be in the running along with Mike Trout as the best player in baseball. Of course, you need to do it more than one season, but Mookie Betts is on the right track, so he would be my pick for AL MVP.
Yeah, I have Mookie Betts as well. I read the Ringer article today where he gave it to Mike Trout, whoever the writer was, just because he has better stats. I'm like, come on, man. It's
the thing
Mookie
is,
Betts
I don't even think he does have better stats. I know Mookie Betts is leading in WAR. I think Trout probably has him in a couple categories.
Yeah, like all these advanced stats no one cares about.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So I think Mookie Betts should win it pretty handily. I know Trout will get some votes. I think JD Martinez might even get some votes. Maybe Jose Ramirez. I'd be kind of surprised to see Jose Ramirez get votes, but he does deserve some recognition. There are candidates, but I think Mookie Betts should win this pretty easily. Let's go to the NL MVP here. This is another one that I think, especially in recent weeks, I don't know if it's that close anymore. Christian Yelich is my pick.
Yeah, I was a Baez guy the whole year, and it's just changed in these past couple of weeks. Christian Yelich, even today, I think he went 3 for 4 or something.
Yeah, he was great today too.
Yeah, so that's a classic example of a guy coming down the stretch. What have you done for me lately?
Right.
Christian Yelich is the guy, NL MVP for me.
And Baez would probably be second place. I think you can make an argument for DeGrom in there too. I mean, we've seen. I think DeGrom's season was more impressive than Verlander's MVP season. And we'll get to AL Cy Young in a second. I think the guy who I have for that is right up there with that Verlander MVP season too. So again, NL MVP, I'm going with Yelich. My honorable mentions are DeGrom, Baez, and I think Arenado still has to be an honorable mention for this as well.
Yeah, and like Trevor Story, he's had a great year.
He's worked his way in the conversation too.
Yeah, he's definitely not probably in the top 3 there, but he's definitely in that second group of guys.
Yeah, if the season went on for another 15 to 20 games, I bet Story would be probably within that top 3 or 4. He might even overtake Arenado if you give him that amount of time. So AL Cy Young, this is where there's going to be a lot of difference of opinion, I think. And I don't know if there should be, but lately Blake Snell has swayed me to have my vote. I mean, I wasn't a Blake Snell guy throughout the entire season. He's been under the radar for everybody, including myself. And when I recently looked at his stats, especially in the second half, the guy's been unbelievable. I compared his stats to Justin Verlander's MVP season, Snell's are not as impressive, but they're right there. And I know he wouldn't get MVP or anything like that because, believe me, like he's deserving, but he's been so under the radar all season long that it would never happen. But you got to give him AL Cy Young. He's been that good.
Yeah, I think Snell wins it too. He's my pick. He's been playing good teams too. It's not like he's pitching against a bunch of teams that are out of it.
Right.
He's like the only starter in his rotation too. So it's like, he's the only guy there. And Snell definitely won it, but a guy like Chris Sale, Kluber was out for a little bit. Verlander had a sort of a negative year based on his high standards.
Right.
With all those factors going into it, Snell capitalized and he had an awesome year. So it's got to be him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be closer than it should be. I think Snell should run away with it. I don't know that he will because he's stuck on the Rays. I know a lot of people. I mean, we live in the we follow the Red Sox, so we see Sale every single day, and there's a lot of talk of him in the Cy Young conversation. I don't know that he belongs there, especially for the last month or two. I think he's kind of, I don't want to say ruined his chances. It's out of his control. He's been injured, but I think Snell's played the full year. He's had arguably the best season. It's his award. NL Cy Young, it's Jacob deGrom. It just has to be Jacob deGrom. Get the win-loss record out of my face because I saw some sort of absurd stat that if the Mets scored at least 4 runs in all of deGrom's starts, he'd be like 30-0 or something like that. So
that's crazy.
So deGrom's got my vote. It's not even close. It's close when you look at like ERA, or not ERA, but if you look at like other stats, like Scherzer's close in some categories, Nola's close in some categories. deGrom had by far the most impressive year. He's got my vote there.
Yeah, I think I was a Scherzer guy, but these last couple weeks, deGrom's been unreal pitching for a team that's going nowhere. Like you said, if he was on a good team, he would be the stone cold winner. I still think he is, even though he's on the Mets. Got to be deGrom.
Yep. So far, we've picked the same guy for each award, so we'll see if this continues. With AL Rookie of the Year, I'll let you go first for this one.
Yeah, so there's a couple of guys here you can go with. The sexy pick is probably Ohtani, but I'm going to go with Miguel Andujar. To me, it's just an eye test thing. I just love seeing the guy hit, and every time he's up, he honestly scares me more than anyone in the Yankees order right now if he came up. I just think he makes contact. He drives the ball. Miguel Andujar he was a high prospect, but Gleyber Torres got all the plaudits for the Yankees coming up, but it's actually Andujar who's been better. So I got to give him the award.
Okay, so this is our first difference of opinion on the awards. I go with Ohtani by the slimmest of margins. I went back and forth with this one. Even Torres had some consideration here because when he got promoted, he immediately went off. He did not waste any time. He was probably the leading candidate for at least 2 months. And then Ohtani came back and Andujar took off and it became a really close race. Now I'm going with Ohtani because he showed us something this year we've never seen. We've never seen a guy be a capable front end starter and a guy who can mash like 30 homers, 40 homers in a season. Now the Angels kind of messed it up. They didn't really know. And I don't really blame them 100% because it's not an easy thing to manage. Ohtani could have had an even better season if he was managed correctly, if the Angels used him correctly. And that should scare opposing teams because if they finally figure out an optimal way to use him, he's going to be an MVP candidate. Never mind, like Rookie of the Year. He's going to be an MVP candidate for years to come. So I'm going with Ohtani.
Has he decided whether he's getting Tommy John yet? I think he is, right?
I think he is, which sucks.
They keep going back and forth on it. It's insane.
I think he was actually, I don't know if he got it or if he's getting it like this week, but I'm pretty sure he said that he's getting it when the season ends. So, yeah, that's unfortunate because he's not going to be able to, he'll be able to hit, but pitching's out of the question for the foreseeable future.
Yep.
NL Rookie of the Year. This one was tough as well, but it was a 2-man race. I do have a third honorable mention, but it was between Juan Soto and Ronald Acuna. Man, this one was tough, but I went with Acuna on this one. I think he's the better all-around player. Juan Soto, I think you can make an argument that he's a better hitter or a better slugger at least. Ronald Acuna he's the National League's Mookie Betts is what he is. He's not quite on that level yet, but give him a few years under his belt, and I can see him being the same type of player as Mookie.
Yeah, I think the clear pick is Acuna. I've been going Soto, so I'm going to go with Soto. it's another eye test thing. I just like his plate discipline, even though that's like one small, facet going into this. I just like his plate discipline a little more than Acuna. I think Acuna will end up being the better player for sure, but I like Soto right now.
And Soto's the guy who's making the Nationals okay with saying, "See you later, Bryce Harper." And that says a lot to the confidence that the Nationals have in him. So both of them are going to have unbelievable careers. I'm convinced of that already. And then let's just do manager of the year just for the hell of it. In the AL, I got Kevin Cash. I think it's an easy pick there. I know a lot of people might say Alex Cora because first year manager, and the Red Sox had 108 wins this season. But the Red Sox have so much talent on that team that I mean, if they had anything less than like 95 wins, it would have been like the world was ending. Whereas the Rays, want to talk about expectations for the Rays going into the season?
Yeah,
not high. So Kevin Cash, I don't know if I've ever heard him say a word, but apparently he's a really good manager. So because he led this Rays team, I think they were like 10 games above 500 or something. So that's a really good accomplishment for a team that had no source of starting pitching whatsoever.
Yeah, I think it's between him and Bob Melvin out in Oakland, but I think I'd give it to Cash because he's started this trend that a lot of teams are doing now where they're starting a bullpen guy.
Yep.
It's just one of those things that could change baseball that they've started to do. So I think that's innovative. So I'll give it to Cash.
All right. And then in the NL, you go first for this one. I want to know your pick.
Yeah, so to me, it's pretty clear. To me, whenever I give a coach of the year out or manager of the year, I want to give it to a guy who went to a place that doesn't win and he ended up winning. So I'm going to give it to Craig Counsell with the Brewers. I think they had decent expectations. Like, okay, we'll maybe try to get the second wild card. They've blown those out of the water with a mishmash of players. I don't think that's an easy clubhouse to manage. There's some huge egos and different guys from different countries, and their starting pitching stinks. It's like, but Counsell has just always been there, been the stalwart, kept them on the path. So I'm going to give it to him for NL Manager of the Year.
So he's actually my runner-up, and this one was a tough decision too, but I went with Brian Snitker of the Atlanta Braves. I don't know if anybody had the Braves winning the NL East this season. I had them at least improved. I thought this was going to be a nice year to see them. I guess I'll call it a bridge year. I thought it was going to be a bridge year, and then maybe next year or the year after that, they would contend. They didn't waste any time. Acuna and Albies and Freeman all led the charge here, and I think management has had a lot to do with it too. You had Fultonavich, who had an outstanding year. I think Snitker, and he was able to manage the young talent and the veterans at the same time, manage that clubhouse to an NL East title that we all thought was going to go to the Nationals. So I'm going with Snitker on this one. Counsell's my runner-up, and I realized I forgot to give my honorable mention for the NL Rookie of the Year behind Soto and Acuna, and that's Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler had a very under-the-radar, quiet, but really, really effective year for the Dodgers. I think he was promoted when Kershaw got hurt, and since then, he's been the guy for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, he's pitching in the wild card game for them today, and he's pitching unreal. So they have confidence in him too. It's not that he just came up; they have total confidence in him.
And it's 5-0 now, by the way. Dodgers just took a 5-0 lead. So.
Yeah, he just got a single, Walker Buehler.
He did? All right. Well, how about that timing? Perfect. Okay, so those are our award picks. If you have any debates with that, you can tweet us at Tater Talk Pod, and we can tell you why you are wrong. This is my favorite part. This is something I've been looking forward to weeks now. We're going to have our duds of the year, and that's the Matt Strom Award, and our When You're Hot, You're Hots of the year, the Reese Hoskins Award. Both are being handed out today. I don't know if we'll have a unanimous one on this, Zach. I have a feeling we might, but I'm interested to hear your pick. So I'll have you start with your Matt Strom Award.
So my Matt Strom Award. So Matt Strom came along last year and was absolutely terrible for the Royals. So that's why he got named this award. It comes from a guy that's a little bit not a household name, but is just terrible and it's noticeable. So I'm going to go with another guy whose first name is Matt. He plays for the Rangers, Matt Moore.
Okay, good pick. Good pick.
Did you pick him too?
No.
Oh.
No. That's a great pick, though, because I remember going on a Matt Moore rant at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
How much of a dud he is. It's a great pick.
He's been terrible. I mean, barely sub-7 ERA, 3-8 and he's pitched 102 innings, so it's a good sample size there. This guy's fallen off the map. He was one of those Tampa Bay studs, and he's just been terrible since then. I'm going to have to give it to Matt Moore this year. Totally off the map for him.
Texas is where pitchers go to die. Starting pitchers die in Texas.
That's true.
All right. So congratulations to Matt Moore on winning the Matt Strom Award. My Matt Strom Award winner, I'm a little surprised he didn't pick him, but I think it's one of those ones that's so obvious that you look past it. It's Chris Davis. Chris Davis had one of the worst seasons of any player ever. And even before this year, I was never really a fan of him. So this was the perfect opportunity to have him as Dud of the Year for 2018. He is my Matt Strom Award winner for this year.
That's a great one too. I mean, I was looking at like the total batting average for everyone that qualified in MLB. It's literally Chris Davis and then everyone else like 30 points above him. That's how bad he's been.
Yeah, I think he hit like 165 or something like that this year. And I'm convinced I could hit at least that in the major leagues. Yes. I know it's a little delusional probably, but 165 is, you got to be, Tim Tebow would have had an unbelievable year compared to that.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, that's bad. When you're hot, you're hot. So Rhys Hoskins won this award last year. That's why we named it after him. It's the Rhys Hoskins Award for the When You're Hot Player of the Year. I'll give mine here. It's Scooter Gennett. Scooter Gennett had a very, very solid season for the Reds. We all knew him before this season as the guy who hit 4 home runs in a game out of nowhere. This year, he really put it all together. He was a great all-around player for the Reds this season, and he didn't get any attention at all because he's stuck in Cincinnati. But I remember, I put Scooter Gennett on my When You're Hot of the Week multiple times this season. I think he's very deserving of this year's Rhys Hoskins Award. And one thing I noticed while looking at stats, Zach, is him and Rhys Hoskins are neck and neck this season in every single stat. So I think it's fitting that Hoskins and Gennett gets the Hoskins Award here.
That's a good one too. He's literally the epitome of the Rhys Hoskins Award. Comes up, overperforms. We'll see if he can do it next year. I don't think we've had a Rhys Hoskins guy repeat, but Rhys Hoskins had a good year this year too.
Yeah, but not as good as his Rhys Hoskins year.
That's true. Can't argue that.
Right.
So my Rhys Hoskins Award goes to Daniel Palka of the White Sox.
Oh, quite the pick. Okay.
And I picked him because he has the same amount of as bats as Aaron Judge this year, with Judge being out, and he has the same home run and RBI numbers, and no one's talking about this guy. I think this is going to be the guy next year that we look at as the Rhys Hoskins of this.
Might be a year early.
Yeah, I might be a year early on Daniel Palka. We were a year early on Rhys Hoskins. He became a household name this year. We were early on him.
Very true.
We were not early on Matt Strom. We were right where we needed to be with him.
Matt Strom, we might never hear that name again except for this award.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll go to Daniel Palka. Great slugger, lefty slugger. I can't wait to see how good this guy gets.
So there you have it. After a year of having duds of the week and When You're Hot, You're Hots every single week, we've come to the conclusion that our duds are Chris Davis and Matt Moore, and our When You're Hots, You're Hots are Scooter Gennett and Daniel Palka. Congratulations to all the winners. I can't wait to give out this award next year. We'll see if we have any repeats. Well, we have not had a repeat. It's only been 2 years of the award. That's probably why. I'm very excited to see what happens next year. Speaking of next year, again, we will not have duds of the week and When You're Hot, You're Hots every week. It'll be more of a monthly thing. And I think that way we'll get a better idea of who's won how many times and who's really, really deserving of these awards. So something to look forward to next year. So let's wrap up this regular season. It's finally over after this game 163 between the Dodgers and Rockies. What were some of things that you look back on, some highlights, maybe some lowlights? What stands out to you as something that, in general, just what stood out to you this season that kind of, I guess, was a theme of the year?
Yeah, I think it was teams that didn't have high expectations going into the year overachieving, which I love to see in MLB. There's so many leagues now and in sports where the same teams are at the top every year. The NBA, we know who's going to be there. NFL, we pretty much know who's going to be there now. MLB, it usually changes, and this year is no different. I mean, who would have had the Braves, the Brewers, the Rockies? I mean, these are teams that no one really picked to make the playoffs, and they're some of the best teams in MLB. So I think to me, it was the teams that overachieved because we know the Yankees and Red Sox with their payrolls are going to probably be in it. Same with the Cubs, the Dodgers. I like seeing these small market teams come in and compete. Add the Oakland A's to that. So I think it was the year of the underdog, and hopefully that goes through the playoffs. Other than the Red Sox, I hope they win it, but those teams.
It's interesting because I had pretty much the same concept as mine. One of my highlights, the very beginning of the year, I think we all agreed in our predictions that we thought the playoff field was going to be all the usuals from last year, pretty much all of the same teams. And I know a lot of them are in it this year, but it was very competitive all season long. I mean, the Braves, like you said, the Brewers are in it, and it's making it more exciting. We don't see that in the NBA, especially, and we barely see that in football. So that was always good to see. Another highlight, or actually, I'll give two highlights really quickly. I think the Ohtani thing was really fun to follow. Again, we've never seen anything like that before. I hope we see more two-way players in the future. I think this opens that door for them. And the other highlight was the opener. That's another thing we never really saw. And I think that's starting a trend in baseball. I'm very interested to see where the opener goes next season. And if other teams look at the Rays and are like, that actually is a very smart strategy. Let's try to implement it in our game, especially teams that don't have the strongest of rotations, like the Rangers. If the Rangers could just build a bullpen and not focus on that starting rotation, that means they're saving money and they can try to win games in other ways than their offense, which they have never done before. So again, interested to see where that goes. One low light that I want to give for this year, and it's a complaint that a lot of people have had about baseball. It's the amount of strikeouts and home runs, the ratio, like those two numbers are so high, but the balls in play, it's not like there's no doubles, there's no singles, doubles, triples. It's either strikeouts, home runs, or walks. So that's something that I think has to change for the sport. I don't think it's something you can naturally change, but it's something that we've never seen it before, and it kind of makes the game, I don't want to say boring because I love it no matter what, but it's a little harder to watch when guys are either hitting home runs or striking out.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I'll piggyback that on my lowlights has been the pace of play.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the rules they've implemented have done anything. And it's definitely hurting the sport. Like, okay, today was these two great games, like to win the division for the NL West and the NL Central. People were still talking about the NFL Sunday. And it's like, You don't even get, when you have their playoffs, you still get overrun by the NFL. It's because your pace of play is so slow. And also it feeds into that pitchers now. I've seen more nibbling this year than ever before. Guys are so scared to pitch the contact because people are swinging for the fences, that it's making the games even longer. And teams are using like 8 pitchers in a game. It's like, I just want to go back to the day where guys used to get out early in the count. When they had 0-2, they didn't throw 3 sliders in the dirt just to waste time and see if a guy swung. They would go right back at them. So I like to see pitchers kind of nut up, for lack of a better term, and start to try to get outs earlier in the count.
I agree 1,000%. And the other low light that kind of piggybacks off of that is the amount of near no hitters. I've been tweeting all season long. Every time there's been at least I'd probably say 25 to 30 almost no hitters. We saw no hitters earlier in the year, actual no hitters. That's fine and all. We saw at least 25 to 30 guys go make it to like the 7th or 8th inning with no hitters and have them get broken up. I need people to stop hyping up no hitters as if it's a big accomplishment when they're walking like 4 or 5 guys. That's a trend that has to stop, because that's another thing that bugs me. It's not impressive if you pitch a no hitter and walk 5, 6 guys. It's not at all. So that's another little low light that I have. All right. So the regular season, that's a wrap. It's October baseball time. It's time to predict how the playoffs go. Starting with the ALDS, we'll start with the American League here. The AL wildcard game, we already said, you said A's, I said the Yankees. So assuming that the A's go and they face the Red Sox in the ALDS, who do you like in that series?
Yeah, so I like the Red Sox to be either the A's or the Yankees.
Okay.
I think they'll be able to handle either of those teams. The next round, I am not so confident about.
I'm in the same boat as you with that, for sure. So I have the Red Sox winning in the ALDS. Now the ALCS, or actually let's go to the other ALDS matchup, which would be Indians Astros. So who do you have in that series?
I'm going to go with the Astros.
Okay.
I just think they have better starting pitching at this point. And I think their lineup is just, they've been gearing up for the playoffs all season. They've kind of like taken a back seat and said, all right, let's let the Red Sox win all these games. Let's let the Yankees win 100 games. We'll sit back here. We're the defending champions. We'll be there when the playoffs start. And they're there.
And they have
And
they
I
have
think
so much swagger too. Like I can't decide if I like Alex Bregman or not, but every time I see him in an interview, there's no one more cocky. And that actually that attitude scares the crap out of me come playoff time because that guy's nails in the postseason. And that whole team is. So,
yeah. He hadn't been living up to it, but he had an unreal year. So now he's starting to even go further down that road.
Yeah. And one little subplot of that ALDS matchup between the Astros and Indians is that hatred between Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer. That's coming up again. So I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I have the Astros in that series.
I got the Astros as well. So that leaves us with Red Sox versus Astros. Who's gonna pick against the Red Sox first here, me or you? Because I don't know. I don't know what to do here.
I know. I'm torn. I think my brain is saying Astros, my heart is saying Red Sox.
Same.
So I'll pick with my brain and I'll go with the Astros.
I'm glad
I think they're the team to beat. I honestly do, and I don't think the Red Sox have enough pitching to beat them.
Yeah, again, we completely agree on this. I'm taking the Astros as well. I'm glad you are the brave one who said it first. So we both have the Astros making it to the World Series.
I feel like that's the majority of Red Sox. I haven't heard Red Sox fans saying I'm wicked confident we're going to make the World Series. People are still apprehensive just because we have not had that success with this group of guys.
This is the least confident anyone has ever been in a 100+ win team.
Oh, 100%.
Ever. Because the bullpen is that bad. And the offense, I know the Astros did it last year with not that great of a bullpen. It doesn't happen that often that a team, usually bullpen is what helps you win in the postseason. The Astros were an exception to that last year. I don't know. I could totally see the Red Sox getting cold offensively in the postseason, bullpen blowing up. And if they lost in the ALDS, I wouldn't even be shocked. I'd be a little bit surprised, but there'd be no part of me that'd be like, wow, I didn't see that coming.
I know. How crazy is that?
We saw it the last 2 years.
I don't want to think about it.
So we both have Astros in the World Series for the AL, making it back there again. So we'll go to the National League. Let's assume that it's 5-0 still in this Dodgers-Rockies game. So we'll assume at this point that it's Dodgers versus the Brewers and the NLDS. Or am I stupid?
It would be Dodgers Braves, I think.
Yeah, okay. Dodgers Braves, sorry. Dodgers Braves in the NLDS. Who do you like there?
I like the Dodgers in that, but this NL playoff picture, I don't like you could pick any teams out of a hat and I wouldn't be totally surprised if they made it. I'll pick the Dodgers because I like their starting pitching just a little bit more, but that's the Braves' strong suit as well. Their bullpen's a little bit weaker. Their starters are good. Same with the Dodgers. Their starters are decent. Their bullpen's pretty shaky other than Kenley Jansen. So we'll see from that point. I think the Braves are too much of a free swinging team, and I think the Dodgers will be able to capitalize on that. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers to win that.
I'm taking the Braves. So I'll take the Braves there. I think the Dodgers are too wishy-washy of a team. They get hot and then they get cold. They get hot and then they get cold. I don't really trust the Dodgers here. I like the Braves. They have nothing to lose. Whereas the Dodgers, I think there's a lot more pressure on them. I like the Braves in this matchup. Who would you like in the other matchup, which would be, I'm all mixed up here. Help me out.
So the wild card game would be Rockies and Cubs.
And we established Rockies for that one. So it would be Rockies versus the Brewers.
Yep. Okay.
Who do you like there?
What a weird series that would be.
Very weird.
Like two like small market fan bases. God, that might be the best series to watch. Like if you just like offense and not a lot of pitching.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Brewers. It pains me to do so, but I'm gonna go with the Brewers there. Like you were saying earlier, this is a team of destiny to me, and they have some guys that have been there. Like Lorenzo Cain has been there. So I think they'll feed off that. So I'm gonna go with the Brewers over the Rockies.
Okay, I'm going with the Brewers as well. So you have Brewers Dodgers, correct? Am I being okay? because I don't have anything in front of me right now. I'm going off the top of my head, and the National League is where my brain's kind of scrambled. So it's Brewers, Dodgers. Who do you have winning that series?
Brewers. Got to ride the
Ooh.
Brewers.
All right. So you got Astros, Brewers?
Astros, Brewers. MLB would have a heart attack if that's the actual World Series.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got Brewers, Braves. And
where are you going?
I got to go Brewers.
Brewers.
Crew. Astros,
the
Brewers,
Crew.
Brewers. The thing is, the path for both of these teams, that's so realistic.
Oh, yeah.
Very realistic matchup. So
there's no upset there in my mind.
Yeah. So, okay. Brewers, Astros World Series.
I don't think people have been like fathoming it. If the Cubs don't make it and the Dodgers get bounced, the NL is like, there's no
wide open
power teams. Yeah. There's just like a bunch of random.
That's why my brain screwed up with like the matchups. It's hard to believe that the Brewers could realistically make it that far. So could the Rockies. So could the Braves. It's wide open.
Yeah, like the NL has been dominated by the Cubs, the Mets, and the Dodgers. Like those are all huge market teams, big payroll teams. This year could be a little bit different for sure.
Yeah. All right. So that big Astros Brewers matchup, who do you have winning it all?
I honestly think whoever makes it out of the NL will have an easy road in the World Series, just because you'll have to go through a couple teams,
okay.
Couple strong teams. So I'm going to go with the Astros out of that back-to-back World Series champions. They got to have a little dynasty going here. They have a good thing going. Starting pitching, field position players, hitting. They have it all in my mind.
Yeah, I picked the Astros at the beginning of the season to repeat, so I'm not going to turn back on that now. I got the Astros winning it. I would say it would go to 6 games. I'll give it 6. I think the Brewers make it a series.
I'm going to say 5 because I just don't believe in the Brewers starting pitching.
That's fair. That's a fair criticism for sure. Let's make it a little more interesting here. Who's your World Series MVP?
World Series MVP. I think it will be Verlander, and I think he'll get 2 wins in the series.
Okay. I'm going to go with that cocky bastard I just talked about. I'll go with Alex Bregman. Just seems like that kind of guy, and then he'll have some sort of post-game interview that makes me want to I hate that guy, but I love him at the same time. No one I love hate more than Alex Bregman in the league. All right. Well, that's our little preview, and one last thing before we get out of here, the scheduling for the podcast, I think it's counterproductive to have it be every Monday because you never know if shit goes down on, say, like a Thursday. It's to let days go by and then talk about it on a Monday kind of defeats the entire purpose. So what we're going to do, I think, is play it by ear. And if something big happens, big series, say there's some sort of huge brawl or something that needs to be talked about, or say, I don't know, both ALDSs are sweeps, and then we have to cover that series. We'll do that. So whatever happens, if it's a big thing, we'll do our best to cover it. And we'll still likely put at least one out per week, but there'll be shorter episodes. I think that will be the plan going forward. You got anything you want to leave off on as the regular season comes to a close?
No, I think it's been a long season just because as Red Sox fans, we've known we've been in the playoffs. Right. I would have liked it to be a little bit closer just because I would have paid more attention, to be honest. But like you said, if there's a brawl in the playoffs, God, that's
something
right
like
on the line and start talking about it.
Yeah, but that's what I mean is, like, if that happens, we're not waiting 4 days to talk about it. That's something like we got to get on here and talk for like at least 15, 20 minutes, put an episode out there about it because the people want to hear it.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Well, on that note, can't wait to see what kind of playoffs we get this time, this year. It's very exciting. October, you can feel it in the air. It's October baseball time. It's the best time of year for all sports. All sports are going to start happening at once. Real quick, is October the best month of the year?
I think it might be, especially because the weather's not like extremely cold now. So yeah. I think it's definitely up there. You got everything going on.
I think it has to be. I think we'll leave on that note. October. Love October. We'll see you guys later.
Peace.